and recording also, and not sure what that beep beep is, but maybe it's got taken care of now. So I thought this morning I would start out maybe to see if anybody had some testimonies or anything that they wanted to ask or share about the WAVwatch, or I can answer a few questions, that kind of thing. But I might kick it off because that's what the excitement is. Some of you know that I'm deaf, completely deaf in one ear. And so I've mentioned that a couple of times because at this point I've had 5 people that have taken off their hearing aids. And that was so exciting to me. Now I am missing a part, and I'm always praying for miracles. And so far, nothing has happened with the WAVwatch and my hearing. But I did have another testimony from a lady, and I was trying to find the text, but I didn't find it today. But basically, she said that she was 80 and that she was born hard of hearing in one ear also, just like I was. And then something happened fairly recently, and it sounded like she was completely deaf. And so she got the WAVwatch, and she said she used it for 2.5 days, and she played it on deafness, and she played it on lymph nodes, and her hearing came back. So she was very tickled to be able to hear again. So those testimonies are very, very dear to me about hearing. But somebody that has another problem and is listening for a different idea to see if the WAVwatch helped them might be interested in anything you have to share. So if you have something, it's okay to unmute yourself and, let me know anything or any questions, any testimonies or questions. We'll have a few minutes for that.
Linda, this is
Yes.
Vicki. And my husband said, share with Linda what my doctor said to me yesterday, because he's going through radiation for prostate cancer. And he and the doctor talked about why is he doing so well. And he wears his watch all the time. And I have put a playlist together for him. But anyway, when he went in yesterday, he had taken his watch off and left it in the car because he has to take it all off anyway to do his treatment. And Dr. Thompson said, where's your watch? Where's your watch? It helps you so much. How come you don't have it on?
Really?
I just thought that was fun.
That is. See, we need to take this to the medical, and we're trying, we're trying.
Yes.
All right. Oh, that's a great one. Okay. And even if you've shared the testimony before, someone may not have heard it. So share it again if there's something that you want to add.
Linda, this is Janie.
Yes.
And on my recent trip to the big city of 3 hours, why, usually my feet swell, some in the car, and I feel terrible, and you name it. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to put on inflammation. I ran it all 3 hours. By the time I got to Denver, my feet were not swollen near as bad. My shoes were loose. I got out of the car and I felt so much better. So just a new trip for traveling. I'll never forget that, I guess. And I mean, I felt good all day long because I did the same thing. Every time I traveled in that car, I put inflammation on, and it certainly helped my something.
Something. And that's why inflammation and pain and trauma, and sometimes
Right.
it's just the one that's inflammation or the pain, but just different variations, are one of my favorite frequencies because they're so broad. Perfect. I love it. And Janie has quite a few testimonies. If some of you haven't heard, she's used it on her dog a couple of times. So, any other ideas today that somebody wants to share?
Can you hear me, Linda?
I can, Linda.
Okay. I'm still trying to figure out the frequencies. I'm still having to take the meds for sleep. I'm using insomnia, and I'm using, last night I used emotions and sleep, and then I did not go to sleep until midnight last night. So I took a melatonin, which I haven't taken for months. And then at 11:30, I had to take my Lunesta. And then, so I'm still trying to figure out the frequencies and how I should use, how long I should use it before I go to bed. So those are things I'm still trying to figure out.
So just a couple of tips. If you don't go to sleep, you could play more your gallbladder and thyroid,
Oh, okay.
because those are the organs in your body that are keeping you awake at that period of time. And I should have this up really on a screen so I could just access it. But again, there is something called the Chinese body clock. And you can just Google that, and you can actually buy a clock that has the 2-hour segments in a 24-hour day, and where each one of your organ systems is more or less in charge, or doing something at that point in time. And so you want to make sure that that area or organ system is balanced for whatever you're doing at that time. So those are the two that would be from 9 to 11 basically. And then from 1 to 3 the liver is in charge. So if anybody wakes up 1 to 3, then you should be playing liver sometimes to help you sleep. And if you wake up from 3 to 5, it is more your lungs that are causing problems, and that's a good time to play the lungs, or even play it when you go to bed so that you can sleep through the night that way. So you might experiment with those just a little bit, Linda. And then if you haven't heard me say this, I have somebody else that swears by the OCD. She wakes up just randomly in the middle of the night. She plays OCD. And another person plays EMFs. And she said that makes her anxiety go away, and, sleeps a little bit better that way. So many possibilities with sleep. I apologize. There isn't a right or a wrong. It's a little bit more experimentation to see if there's something that your body is needing. But the Chinese body clock is a good start.
Wonderful. Thank you. I will try all of this. And I tried to get on video, and I can't. So I don't know what to do next to get on video. But
there is usually a little video icon in the lower left corner of most computers. So I don't know if that'll help you or not. And if it's got a little, slash through it, you're not on. But
I tried that, but it says enable camera access in your browser. So
okay. You got a little bit more work to do, Linda. So maybe next week you can.
I'll get it ready for the next time.
That'll work.
Thank you.
Any other questions, testimonies, ideas? Some of you may know that my husband really had some health problems the last 3 weeks, and I do have a full-time customer service person. And so on the back of your booklet, there is a 401 number. And that's the number to call him, or for any service questions, or if you need your battery replaced, or some ideas like that. It would be 401 592-8928. And it is on the website. It's on the back of the booklet, and so you can find that number there. If you call another number that you see, it might be Carl or I, and we might not be able to answer. We've been going to several doctors and things like that, so. Any other additions? Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and start. I'm really excited about this program today because I didn't know where it would take me. Sometimes I just have to pick a topic and, send that to my web designer so he can send it out to you. And I just picked something on plants because I know they have frequencies. So hopefully you'll enjoy this as much as I did. I learned so much. So we're going to be talking about plants today and how they have frequencies. So I'll see if I can get my screen up here.
Do you think if I put my WAVwatch on my plant, it wouldn't die?
Well, that's what we want to know. That's what I was hoping to find out. And I'm not sure I learned that, but I learned a lot of stuff. So plants and vibrations, that's where we're at today. So I love that comment. You got it exactly. Where are we going to be at with this? So I've gone over this before, but just to kind of review just very quickly, so many people are enjoying the WAVwatch because it has, the hundreds of sound frequencies. There's no cords. There's no internet. That is huge, 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 huge. There's no monthly fee. It's inclusive, even for the hard of hearing, like I mentioned before, and it's cost effective. And I'm going to be actually accenting that in a little bit, how cost effective it is. And then I think this is the most important screen. So some of you are still not getting to this screen or seeing it or whatever. But in the lower left corner of this screen, when you have selected a frequency, this is what I call the play screen. It's got the song on it. And if you actually turn it up using the top button on the the left-hand side here, there's a button right here on this side. If you touch that, it will turn the volume up so that you can hear it. Now, you don't want to hear it. We don't want everybody to hear it. Don't forget that one of my most embarrassing moments was when I went to the bank, and because I'm deaf, I had it on 12 and I couldn't hear it. But my tellers and two or three other tellers in the bank could hear it, and their eyes lit up. They thought I was bringing a bomb into the bank, seriously. And one of them did phrase that. So you don't necessarily want other people to hear it. You want to feel that. So make sure that you have it turned down to 4, the sound volume. And then if you are working with if you are working with emotional frequencies, they are very, very hard to hear anyway. But don't forget, your body can feel them. They don't have to roar, and just know that the acoustical frequencies for the emotions are very soft. Now, here's what people are missing right here. This will change to 3 different icons. So if you have it on the double the double arrows that are moving to the right, I don't know how to describe that, this particular icon, then it would play everything that's in that folder. And so whatever this one says up here, I can't even read it, 38, maybe 30, whatever it says, it will play every single idea in that folder with this icon in the bottom. Now, if you tap this and put it into this icon, which is a 1, and just kind of a square around it, and some people describe it as an open page, whatever that icon is, if you have that icon right here, it will just play whatever's on the screen one time and shut off. Now, this one looks like it's 8 or 9 minutes. Some of them have a little bit different variations. There's a few like the the COVID coronavirus one that's over an hour, and the parasite combo is about 45 minutes. And I'm not exact on all of these. I've kind of forgotten. I created 850 ideas, and they're kind of coming together in my mind. And so I'm not saying that it's exactly that time period, but you'll notice that there are some variations. And then the third one is the one that you can use a little bit more at night or for longer playing times. So it would be the one with 2 arrows. You can barely see them. There's 2 little arrows that are looping around the number 1. And so those looping arrows make it just loop over and over and over again. And it's just looping the one idea. So that's all that does. And so people, should be aware that those do change, or you could bump them sometimes, or you think you said it one way and it's another, you've actually said it another way. The AB, and I'll tell you this, and I don't mean to get anybody, thinking anything different, but this is one of my first versions had AB on it. And that was actually like if you were learning a song and you just wanted to play 3 or 4 notes, and you'd play you'd sing those trills over and over again. That's what that was used for. So it's not something that we've ever really used on the WAVwatch. Now this one, the arrows right here for the heart, this is part of your favorites list. And so if you would want anxiety in your favorites list, all you do is check that heart. You just touch the heart and it will save it into your favorites list. Now, to check your favorites list, basically you can click right here, and this is there we go. So I had several things on the screen at one time. You can check the menu bars And some of the younger teenagers call this the hamburger icon, whatever you want to call it, menu bars. If you click this, it will take you back to home to the major icons. And you will also be able to see playlist on there. And so you can touch playlist, or you can see playlist favorites on your icon screens. And remember, there are 3 swipe screens. So that's just a little bit, so if you need some more help, you can try to give somebody a call, or you can preview some more videos along that particular line.
Linda,
Just a time. Yes.
on the double arrows, and it plays everything in the folder one time, or will it go through 2 times?
No, it'll only go through one time.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So some people want it to just keep going through over and over and over again, but it does not do that. So you have to pick one of those main ideas and loop that with the bottom symbol that we can see right here, if that's something that you need to do. Good question. Anything else while we're on that screen? Okay, we'll go ahead here, I think, to get it to move on. Okay, this is a little bit more about our topic now today, but everything vibrates. I've said that time and time again, but here's a different way to say it. Using atomic force microscopes, researchers have detected vibrations on the nanoscale. So much smaller, 1/1000th than the diameter of a single human hair. So minute, but they know that vibrates. And they found that these vibrations and the electromagnetic energy can cause changes in your cells, and then therefore how your body functions. So I hadn't quite seen this phrasing before, so I thought that was interesting. They are just discovering more and more all the time about vibrations. And so I'm so thrilled that all of you are into vibrations and understand the importance of frequencies and vibrations. And as I've mentioned, my husband and I have been working with more doctors. He was in the hospital for 2 weeks with some severe problems. And he was the best salesman ever for the WAVwatch. He would show the WAVwatch to almost every nurse, and sometimes the doctors were able to look at it. And they were amazingly open to it, because they are starting to put 2 and 2 together. Oh yeah, that's what an EKG is. Oh yeah, that's what an ultrasound is. Oh yeah, that's what lithotripsy is. So this is just a smaller version, but it needs to be, recognized a little bit more so that we can take advantage of all of these. I don't know how many, I don't even know if I could guesstimate how many frequencies there are, trillions and trillions, it sounds like. Now, if we were walking in a forest like this, what's our feeling? What do you think happens when we're out in the trees?
Peaceful.
Peaceful happiness.
Yes. I mean, our anxiety goes away. It's peace. We want to just sit there. We could take a nap. The list could go on and on. I'm sorry, this one's a little bit blurry. I think I found one more. How about this one? So wouldn't it be nice if we could figure out how to duplicate the sounds of nature to maybe help us? And so that was my whole feeling on getting some of this PowerPoint put together today. I was hoping I would, find some exact frequencies. And I found a few, but it didn't quite take me where I thought. I was thinking, let's find out the frequencies that a plant emits, okay? Because we know that it has something to do with our emotions. There's no way that it can't. So if I went the opposite way and I found a picture of a hurricane, what would our emotions be? Just the opposite. So obviously those frequencies are going to be upsetting us. So we do know, and we do acknowledge that nature, and therefore plants, can have an effect on us. So obviously they're getting there. They do know that plant vibrations, they're different from the way the trees sway, or the way a leaf vibrates, and then it invites an insect onto that leaf, and it somehow communicates with its neighbors. So they know all of these ideas. And hey, Lynn, I saw you up there. And hey, I want to tell everybody that Lynn sent me one of a video or an article about plant vibrations maybe a month and a half ago. And I finally got to it. And so Lynn was kind of the person that kicked this idea off. So
Linda,
yes.
There is a wonderful video on Amazon called Intelligent Trees. And it talks about how trees actually communicate and how trees, like the mother trees, will actually feed their little baby trees as the sprouts come out of the ground. But they also feed the surrounding plants, but they take care of their babies first, but then they also take care of the other plants around them. It'll give you goosebumps. Anybody who has Amazon, go look for Intelligent Trees. And they communicate with microfungi in the ground who cooperate with the trees. It's a wonderful, wonderful little film about forests. I think it's about, I don't know, 45 minutes or an hour long, worth every second of it.
Lovely. And see, that's why, a group of us meeting together could just share so much information and many ideas. And it's just wonderful because we should be harnessing or learning, how to help. They do know that the roots have a particular frequency on some plants. They know that the leaves have a different frequency. Different parts of a plant have different frequencies. Well, hopefully, what have you learned about yourself? Different organs have different frequencies. Everything in your body has a different frequency, just like different frequencies in plants that they've been able to measure. So there's a whole science out there that I really didn't know about. I just thought it was fascinating. So they have something called plant bioacoustics, and it's all about sound waves from plants. So they've measured, and they say that plants emit emissions between 10 and 240 hertz. Now that's really low. So our audible frequencies are between 20 and 20,000. And so a lot of people don't have the hearing in those lower ranges. So we're not going to be walking around hearing plants. There's no way that most people can. Now, there is a lady, and I've already forgotten her last name, Susan. Maybe somebody could help me out. But she has the ability, she has her own, she works with acoustics and sound vibrations. And she was able to hear plants. She was raised basically really out in a forested type area. And they say that she can hear a rose as it opens up and some ideas like that. But most people cannot hear any sounds made from plants. They have been able to measure the sound of corn, and just imagine being out in a cornfield, and they say it really does make a popping sound. And can you imagine? My dad was a corn farmer. I could go out into, 120 some acres, that he had irrigated. And if I stood in the middle of that cornfield, would I want to hear a popping sound? Think so. Or maybe Lynn saying yes, but they do know that there are sounds that are made. They also think that they make ultrasonic sounds between 20 and 300 kilohertz. And obviously we can't hear that range either. But so the plants to us have always been silent. We've kind of just dismissed them as nothing when we should have been learning a lot about them. I think that's really important that we've kind of missed that, that we haven't put that 2 and 2 together on that. So now they are admitting that, and they're beginning to work with it. Another little idea, they're saying that sound waves will travel through the soil with minimal energy. So we know that. The earth has a sound. I mean, think about that. How easy is that to think about? The whole earth, the planet has a sound, And so plants can send out sound waves through the soil. And that may help them interpret their environment and their surroundings. Just like Lynn said, the whole Amazon video on the trees in the forests and how they take care of themselves first, or their plants first, or their young first. They have put that together. So it's not, they're not saying, I'm not saying that I necessarily agree with everything, but they're saying at this point that we really can't communicate with plants. But some of us might beg to differ just a little bit. You know, there might be some other thinking and reasoning out there. So another idea that I thought I'd seen it before, but I just thought it was so emotionally, it just made me shiver almost, that 2,000 plant species have evolved buzz pollination. So that means they vibrate at a certain frequency so that the bees are attracted to them. I mean, had you ever thought about what made a bee come on one plant and not another plant? It's vibrations. They have a certain vibration. So that bee is attracted to that. And so they've actually tested that. They know 2,000 species. Now that's minute, you know. There might be many other things going on that they could measure, but at least they have this measured. So that's why if you're planning, or if you want to know, and you want to have honeybees in your yard, plant specific species for those honeybees to be there. Now, my brother has honeybees in Colorado, and of course, the farmers put them out on their alfalfa. You know, there are certain fields, certain species that they do know very much so is attracting the honeybees. But again, maybe they still haven't got all of the research done. I was thinking it might be a smell or something that was attracting them, because each one of those plants does have a different smell. But they are saying, no, it is more the frequency with which that plant vibrates. Can't get any better than that, can it? Now, it's almost like there's a race for some things. And I just was, again, I'm still fascinated. But some kind of one particular species of the evening primrose has been shown to respond to the bee wing beats. And so the bee's wings are making a vibration, and then the plant reacts back. And within 3 minutes, its nectar is sweeter. Wow. And so it is changing itself very quickly so that it can attract the bees before other plants around it do. Does that just blow anybody away, or is it just me?
It does. It's amazing.
It's like, what? So these plants, it's like a race for them to put out the sweeter nectar so that they are attracting the bees. So fascinating. Mm-hmm. So it goes on. I mean, there is so much scientific information, and I'm barely touching it. So if you're a researcher, maybe this will just kickstart you and give you another topic to learn about. But they think that the flower serves as the ear. So that's kind of like our ear, and it contains receptors on the membrane to detect that vibration. Well, that's what our ears do, but our skin also does that. So our whole body is a receptor for vibrations, not just our ears, but on a much smaller plane or playing field, the plants, the flower serves possibly as the ear. So they also know that there are hormones and genes in the petals of the flower. Wow. And then this makes the nectar increase. So they've experimented with this. So they put higher frequencies. They were able to measure and play with the flowers and the bees. You know, here we are. They're using frequencies. And they exposed flowers and bees to high frequencies, or, you know, they isolated them, whatever their method was, and they were not able to hear any sound. And so, no, nothing happened. So they were able to figure out that the correct frequency made a 20% increase for the sweetness, or excuse me, for the nectar, that kind of a thing. So again, this happened within 3 minutes. So I thought that was very, very fascinating. Now, if we flip it another way, they had another study with microalgae cells. And these cells are very nutritional. So, of course, they're being studied for a food supply and as a nutrition source for fish and prawn, things like that. So these cells contain lipids, proteins, polysaccharides, carotenoids, chlorophyll, the list goes on. So that was an important idea to kind of study that. So they studied the effects of particular frequencies to stimulate this particular algae. And they found out that the 2200 hertz was the most effective, that these algae would produce more oil, more things that could be, biomass that could measure. And again, they were able to locate the best frequency that would produce more oil. That was, there's no other way to say it, that was oil. So they are using sound for some of our new production with food or food sources to feed other things. So we have sound and frequency tied to everything in our lives. We can't even, realize how much the frequencies are connected. So these are some other studies, and they, again, show in a different way that plant growth and the quality of the plants can improve with acoustical sounds. So, and they've been studying this 14 years now, almost 13, 14. So since 2012, they have been using sonic waves on Corella, and that it improved the growth rate from 12 to 30%. So they use this on tomatoes and celery and mung beans. The list was pretty endless, that they had looked at different types of plants, food plants, edible crops, and realized that acoustical sounds could improve the growth rate. And here's a different idea. Those studies were done on, a scientific acoustical sound. But there was another lady who posted this, and I just kind of grabbed her idea. And I think I have credit somewhere here, maybe on the next one. But this lady said she did not have a green thumb. She had a brown thumb, if anything. And she'd had this plant for years, and it would produce 1 or 2 flowers. And then when she was inside, because of our lives the last 2.5 to 3 years, when she was inside all the time with this plant, she kind of started talking to it and taking better care of it, And so all of a sudden she has 13 blooms on her orchid instead of 2. So what can we infer from that? Can we take better care of our houseplants, be sending them energy, and they reward us with more blooms or more food or more biomass, oil, that kind of thing. So the whole study about frequencies and plants could affect our lives drastically. Somebody want to say something?
I have a lot of plants, so I guess I'll start talking more to them.
There you go. Yeah. And then even the Smithsonian and NASA show that mild vibrations increase the growth in plants. And you don't want anything harsher. Harsher, stronger vibrations have a negative effect. And that's why I think I'm telling people, on the WAVwatch, this is a different way to say it. It doesn't have to be loud, because to me, that's harsher, louder, stronger if it's really loud. So your body can definitely work with a lower frequency and absorb it. So that slide right there kind of spoke to me a little bit, maybe saying something in a different way, applying it to plants. But again, vibrations help with the communications and photosynthesis. and the plant's ability to fight infection. Wow. What do we think about that? So I really was hoping when I did this research to find out if our plants were putting off something that would help us fight infection. Now, I haven't found that yet. I only researched a couple hours. Maybe somebody has found something else. And if you do have any information on that, that would be great. Because I've already pointed out that aloe vera is a plant that helps protect us from EMFs. So I have aloe vera in several spots in my homes, and I'd like to know if there could be a plant that we could set in our house, quote unquote, that would, help with infection. That's my idea. So if you know anything about that, let me know. But my question that I kind of got to at the end of it is, can we use sound instead of pesticides? Is there a way that we could get there? Because they've got so many different studies. So I kind of put, 3 or 4 different ideas out there that they found that 2000 hertz, they again could grow mung bean sprouts quicker, So in greenhouses, if they have a specific frequency going on, and does that mean a sound like a song? Yeah, it could be a song, or it could be just a kind of a frequency like the WAVwatch uses, but they know that 2000 hertz is really good for increasing germination. And then they studied rice, and it helped drought tolerance and stomatal conductance. So I'm assuming that has something to do with the growth of the plant, conductance through that. And 1000 kilohertz. Now, this is a little bit louder. We can't hear this. Immune responses occurred. So the plant was growing better. So the pepper, the cucumber, and the tomato were exposed, and they grew better. And then the second, or the very last one, researchers suggested that these ions act as messengers to help boost plant resistance. And I'm sorry, you can read just as good as I can, but sometimes to help say that out loud and to read it at the same time kind of doubles our ability to remember it. So I'm just, why aren't we trying to learn how to use sound instead of pesticides? Because here they have some proof that it would do that. Now, I saw something the other day about forest fires, and they are researching putting out forest fires with sound. But they were kind of saying it would have to be an overwhelming sound. It would have to be so loud to put it out. Quite sure about that. Maybe they'll get there, but they might have the ability to put out forest fires with sound. And there is some tooling that has been tested, and, the starting concept of it. But hey, why can't we do this with pesticides instead of pesticides?
Linda, we use our WAVwatch to go in and kill parasites and other things like that in our bodies. Maybe you could just put up a big speaker in your cornfield and set the frequency to kill whatever eats corn. Yeah. I don't know.
I think the world is in front of us with these inventions, but I think the acoustical sounds or, ultrasounds or whatever it turns out to be are just totally amazing. And we have not been valuing them at this point in time. Now, here's my fun tool that I learned about for today. They have something called a plant wave. Instead of a WAVwatch, it's a plant wave for plants. But it actually measures the frequency of the plant and then plays it for you so that you can be sitting in your house and hearing the sound of your plants if you want to. So let me see. How does it work? It converts electrical conductivity of plants into audio. So then we can hear the song made by trees, flowers, plants, and mushrooms. So it's a portable wireless gadget, and they have offered, it so that you can, there's an app, and you can put it on your, head, and listen to plants as a wellness idea. Anybody heard of that one before?
No.
I hadn't. I was just blown away. It's like plant music is created by listening, and that's what this tool does, to the plant's biorhythm. And it says water moves, through the plant, which is how our bodies are doing. Water is fluid is moving through us. So that's why we're able to absorb frequencies so well. And then I think I have one more. So here's another picture of kind of a toning of it. So with the plant wave, you tune into nature and you feel like you're walking in the forest. So it uses sonification technology, and you can kind of see parts of it right here, and it actually touches the plant. It has a 24-hour battery life, and of course you do hook it into your phone app. It has an electrical lead and clip, that you hook onto the plant, and a 1-year warranty, and a price of $299. So where I'm going with this, $299 so that you can hear plants sing. And so I was so glad to be able to say, wow, I've got the WAVwatch at $397, and it has 850 frequency sets for helping with your life or someone's life, or, balancing our system. But it's kind of a similar type idea. So we're just listening to those songs with this particular one. So if anybody decides to order it, let me know if it works, or it doesn't work. All you're doing is listening to a sound, but it gives different music. And so they've measured these vibrations from various areas of the plant. So that's what it's doing, is measuring these vibrations. And they say that, when the plant sways, when the twig sways, when the whole branch sways, obviously there are different vibrations. And so that's where they're getting some of these movements from. Now, what got me is this little tiny idea right here. Plant vibrations, and this is from a scientific paper, a review by Emmanuel DeLongre, if I'm saying that right. And most frequencies are in the order of 1 hertz to 10 hertz, again, which is very, very low, very, very low. And especially if it's a big tree and it vibrates that low, again, that's why we do not hear that. But electrical engineers are getting interested in this for their effects on Wi-Fi transmissions. Now, I am sorry and apologizing again, because I didn't get that they were trying to use it for good. That may be wrong, but I thought that the article was kind of saying that the Wi-Fi transmission was slowed down a little bit because of the plants. So again, that's why I want to encourage you to have plants in your home. Specifically, the aloe plant helps with EMFs. It blocks those EMFs. It has some kind of a frequency that's very helpful. So again, they are noting that plants can have an effect on Wi-Fi transmission. And if you're like me, I'm having trouble with Wi-Fi and the concept of how dangerous it can be for us sometimes. So they are scientifically proving this. Now, to finish up, I think we're just about done, but they have found, of course, what we started with. We know that when we interact with plants and we go out in the forest, that it's going to lower our stress, it's going to lower our blood pressure, it reduces fatigue, reduces the fight or flight, the cortisol levels, and even may help with your cardiovascular and respiratory diseases. So multiple studies have found that if we interact with nature, that these things could occur. So I am fascinated, and I'm still fascinated, and now I'm more and more intrigued what we might be doing with nature and vibrations and frequencies at a later time. So just to close it out, I want to say thank you for coming. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but I'll open it up for a few more minutes. But I hope you learned a little bit, and have some things to share, or now you can go ahead and think about putting some more plants in your house and work with it that way. So thank you for coming. I think I've got a few comments here. So, whoops. Someone said that the WAVwatch has cured their TMJ. And someone else said it's like a miracle watch. Okay, there we go. Yeah. I'm not getting my computer clicked right. Okay, go ahead, Lee.
That was me, the TMJ.
Oh, okay.
The only thing that changed in 3 months was my wife buying it and giving me the watch. And it went away after like 6 weeks. It was amazing.
Oh, wow.
It worked so fast.
Appreciate that. Yeah. I do have another testimony, and I probably should wait until some of these get written down and I can show them to you as they came. But I had a family that are ordering the WAVwatch for their mother who had a stroke, and she's been sitting around for 2 years with no improvement. And someone loaned her a WAVwatch, and after 2 weeks, she has movement in a leg and an arm, something like that. And I don't know the exact specifics of it, if it's just on one side or both, or how much movement it was, but it was a change that had not been there for 2 years. So gosh, people, as neighbors, hey, reach out, as, friends and family that you love. Hopefully you're able to share some ideas with them, because so many people are still skeptical when here we have plants and flowers and trees putting out vibrations, talking to us back and forth. And can we use the WAVwatch to help those plants? I don't know. I didn't find any evidence of that, but we found that the WAVwatch would help animals. So many of you have given me testimonies on just even wearing it and you're petting your animal, or the animal sitting on your lap, or the animal is at your feet and you're putting the WAVwatch on a counter. So would the WAVwatch have an effect on our plants? Hey, let me know. Play something and see if your plant blooms more. All right. Any other additions? I think we're getting close to closing up, but.
Thank you. Very interesting. And I'm going to go out and buy some aloe plants today.
Yes.
Linda, I have a question.
Sure.
I have a question on the pathogens where you have listed several different kinds of cancer. Can you tell me how to delineate the different cancer BX virus 1, virus 2, and then the general 1, 2, and 3? How do I understand that, please?
They are just different sound frequencies. So again, they are songs made for cancer. And of course, we know that there's, XYZ different kinds of cancer. Okay. So I didn't make the watch a cancer tool. I just put a few ideas on it, but they are just a little bit different, and it's not going to hurt you to play those. Okay. Because you don't know which one your body would react to. If you're a muscle tester, you could, again, maybe test one that might be stronger, or the ultimate test is to play through it. And if you have a reaction when it's playing, try to activate your watch with a second on the side so that it comes up and you can read what it is playing at that point in time. And then you can play it longer. So that might be something that speaks to your body, but they're all just a little bit variations in frequencies.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Hmm?
Hello.
Yes.
I know a farmer that plays music for his cows in the barn, and they produce a lot more milk that way.
I love it. I love it. Wow. Mm-hmm. So I do have a chiropractor that bought the WAVwatch for his horse. I think it was an old race horse. It was, seriously, he said, I do remember 30 years old, and he just hangs the WAVwatch in the horse barn, for the horse.
Yeah.
But to have the milk idea, that's fabulous.
Right. And some friends and I are going out to a we live in Wisconsin. We don't see too many longhorn steers here, but there is a guy that has a farm, and we're going to go out there and play music and see if they'll come to the fence.
I love it.
That'd be fun.
Now why haven't we been using sounds, for generations and generations? I think they did thousands of years ago, but we lost it. We lost that ability or that belief or however you want to phrase it. So God gave us sound. I love that. Thank you.
So I've just started with my WAVwatch and I'm practicing with it. So I'm really anxious to get some results. And
all right. I love it. Okay.
Okay.
Any other ideas? Not sure what the beep is, but
I have another question for you, Linda. This is Lee
sure.
Perry. By the way, my wife said to say hi. She met you at a Clay Clark event in February, and that's where she learned about the watch and bought it for me.
She's the 18th century patriot.
Yes, yes.
All right, you can't forget her.
Yeah, that's what she said. She said she'll remember me. I bet she will.
Yep.
But my question is, does the sound of the watch have to be audible to us in order to be working? Because sometimes when I wear it at night, it keeps her awake.
No, it definitely does not. So right here again, it's the 4 is suggested, 4 to 8. Other than that, it may irritate people. Now, Lee, you may not have heard this testimony, but I had a person who called, a gentleman, and he said he bought the WAVwatch for his wife with Parkinson's. And then you could tell he was all embarrassed. He was trying to figure out what to say, on the phone. And then he just blurted out and he goes, and we sleep really close together. And so then he blurted out again and he goes, and I could feel her frequencies. See, he didn't say he could hear. He said he could feel her frequencies.
Interesting.
And then he said, he continued and he said, when he woke up the next morning, his feet didn't hurt.
Wow.
And I'm going, oh, that's neat, And he goes, no, you don't understand. They've hurt for 15 years. I've been on medication for 15 years.
Wow.
So feeling the frequencies, there's my case. I rest my case. You don't have to hear, you can feel.
Thank you.
Did I miss any chats here or any questions?
Linda?
Yes.
Hey, this just reminds me of Masaru Emoto's work with playing music to water and the shape of the crystals that formed. And if you played Baroque music or classical music or sweet, happy music, they form the most beautiful crystals. And if you played, punk rock or something like that, or even if you said words like, I hate you, there would be horribly malformed crystals in the water. I mean, we're water, so we're talking about vibrations, but we're also talking intentions, because he took groups of people out by ponds that were polluted and they all prayed and envisioned the ponds being clean, and that pond cleared up. So we had verbal vibrations and we had intentional vibrations, both of which had enormous effects on water. So it all fits together, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just
love
love
the name
it.
of this person?
Masaru Emoto, Japanese researcher. He just passed a few years ago.
Thank you.
And I've got a couple
several
of
books on water, and I don't remember the title, but if you for EMOTO, Masaru Emoto, and anything on water, you'll find his work. Lots of pictures too, just beautiful.
Okay. Thank you.
And your comments, Lynn, do just really tie everything together, because like in our homes, if we have plants, and that's like the lady that had the orchids, here she was at home during COVID and she babied her plants. She spoke to them. She talked to them. She maybe touched them, a little bit more, and her plant just came alive. So how many things will it do that? The water will change, our plants will change. So don't you think our bodies will change? That's the whole idea. We put positive ideas in our home. We put positive ideas on the WAVwatch, and we have changes that hopefully will be recognized by more and more people.
Right.
So,
Thank you, Linda, for this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful session. Thank you.
oh, well, you started it, Lynn. Don't forget, Lynn, here's the lady that sent me this article. So
Please,
unless I
please
missed
watch
any,
please watch Intelligent Trees. It's just going to blow you away.
and I don't know if you can put that on in our chat,
I'll
intelligent
do it right
trees.
now.
Yeah, intelligent.
I'll do it now. Intelligent Trees on Amazon.
Right. Well, thank
Linda.
you. Yes, thank you. Unless there's anything else, we'll kind of sign off. I know we're all busy people. Keep your songs going, keep your humming going, keep your positive thoughts going, keep the WAVwatch going. Enjoy life. Take a walk today. Love you all. Thanks.
Love you. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.